Picture this, Memorial Day weekend, 1977, a night that was supposed to be filled with music and merriment at the Beverly Hills Supper Club in Southgate, Kentucky. Spectators numbering in the thousands packed into the sprawling 65,000 square foot entertainment complex, eagerly anticipating an evening of revelry headlined by singer John Davidson. Yet, this gathering was set on a course for catastrophe, turning a night of joy into one of the deadliest nightclub fires in U.S. history. In the late 1970s, the Beverly Hills Supper Club was a renowned venue, known for its opulent decor and elite patronage, hosting performances from some of the biggest names in entertainment. This made it an attractive destination for Memorial Day celebrations. However, the design and construction of the building, primarily intended for luxurious experiences rather than safety, set the stage for disaster. This particular weekend was meant to showcase the popular entertainment of the time, creating an atmosphere charged with excitement and anticipation, drawing in a large crowd ready to enjoy a holiday of leisure and fun. This combination of grandeur with impending doom underscores the tragic irony of the evening. The club, brimming with activity, was grossly overcrowded, with an estimated 3,000 people inside, more than double its safe capacity. The structure was a ticking time bomb. The cabaret room where the concert was to take place became the epicenter of the tragedy. Here, patrons were crammed into every available space, with chairs and tables obstructing aisles and exits, priming the environment for disaster. As the evening wore on, unnoticed by the jubilant crowd, a sinister drama was unfolding beneath them. Earlier in the night, a wedding party had vacated the Zebra Room due to unbearable heat and strange noises emanating from below. At 8:59 p.m., the first sign of danger materialized when an employee entering the Zebra Room saw thick smoke suspended beneath the ceiling. The fire department was called, but precious minutes were already lost. The architecture of the Beverly Hills Supper Club, with its multiple additions and renovations, had created a complex maze of rooms and corridors that were difficult to navigate in an emergency. The historical disregard for strict building codes during its expansions contributed to this hazardous layout. On that fateful night, as the crowd swelled, the infrastructure strained under the pressure of excess bodies, with critical pathways blocked, creating a scenario ripe for chaos. The juxtaposition of the joyous anticipation in the air with the dangerous overcrowding paints a vivid picture of the looming disaster. On the evening of the fire, the complex was significantly overexceeded, a common practice that was overlooked due to the lucrative prospects of high ticket sales. This negligence towards capacity limits dramatically increased the risk and severity of the disaster. The architectural complexity of the venue, resulting from multiple expansions, led to a labyrinthine layout that was not only difficult to navigate, but also fraught with safety hazards, notably in its inadequate exit strategies and flammable decor. This setup created an environment ripe for tragedy as the crowd remained oblivious to the growing danger. The situation deteriorated rapidly. Opening the doors to the Zebra Room inadvertently fed fresh oxygen to the flames, causing a violent flashover. Firefighters summoned at 9:06 p.m. arrived to find the building already engulfed in smoke. They faced a labyrinthine venue hastily expanded over the years without regard for safety. Toxic gases filled the air as the fire devoured flammable furnishings, and a crucial spiral staircase, the main escape route for the upper levels, was consumed by flames. By 9:10 p.m., the power failed, plunging the cabaret room into darkness. Panic ensued. With 2 of the 3 exits blocked by fire, patrons desperately funneled toward the only remaining escape. The ensuing crush at the exit was horrifying. People piled upon one another in a desperate attempt to escape, overwhelming rescuers. The design flaws of the club, including the lack of multiple accessible exits and the highly flammable interior materials such as draperies and seat covers, accelerated the disaster. Historical context reveals that the club had been previously cited for safety violations, yet enforcement was lax, reflecting a broader trend of the era where economic interests often overshadowed public safety concerns. As the fire spread, the inadequate escape routes and the rapid consumption of the interior by flames illustrate a severe underestimation of fire hazards by both the club's management and regulatory bodies at the time. The use of flammable materials in the interior decoration and the absence of adequate escape routes and safety exits were critical in the rapid escalation of the fire. This situation was exacerbated by the previously celebrated expansive renovations, which, while aesthetically pleasing, failed profoundly in terms of safety. The lack of adequate fire suppression systems such as sprinklers, compounded by the blocked and insufficient exits, turned a manageable emergency into a deadly catastrophe. As the venue filled with toxic smoke and the main routes of escape were compromised, the structural vulnerabilities of the club were fatally exposed. In the grim aftermath, 165 lives were lost, and more than 200 were injured. The building, lacking basic safety measures like firewalls, smoke detectors, and an adequate fire alarm system, was a disaster waiting to happen. The subsequent investigation revealed shocking negligence. Faulty aluminum wiring, inadequate emergency preparedness, and severe safety violations were just the tip of the iceberg. Rumors of arson, spurred by threats and suspicious activities reported by club employees, added a layer of mystery that remains unresolved. The design flaws of the club, including the lack of multiple accessible exits and the highly flammable interior materials such as draperies and seat covers, accelerated the disaster. Historical context reveals that the club had been previously cited for safety violations, yet enforcement was lax, reflecting a broader trend of the era where economic interests often overshadowed public safety concerns. As the fire spread, the inadequate escape routes and the rapid consumption of the interior by flames illustrate a severe underestimation of fire hazards by both the club's management and regulatory bodies at the time. The use of flammable materials in the interior decoration and the absence of adequate escape routes and safety exits were critical in the rapid escalation of the fire. This situation was exacerbated by the previously celebrated expansive renovations, which, while aesthetically pleasing, failed profoundly in terms of safety. The lack of adequate fire suppression systems such as sprinklers, compounded by the blocked and insufficient exits, turned a manageable emergency into a deadly catastrophe. As the venue filled with toxic smoke and the main routes of escape were compromised, the structural vulnerabilities of the club were fatally exposed. The Beverly Hills Supper Club fire stands as a stark reminder of the consequences of negligence and the importance of stringent fire safety standards. It spurred significant changes in fire codes nationwide, including mandatory sprinklers and the banning of aluminum wiring in buildings. Today, a memorial at the site honors the victims, a solemn testament to a tragedy that reshaped fire safety regulations and awareness across the United States. The disaster led to a nationwide overhaul of fire safety standards, focusing on more rigorous enforcement and the introduction of new technologies in fire detection and suppression. The historical significance of this event lies not only in the tragedy itself, but also in its role in catalyzing changes to building codes and safety practices in public venues across the United States. The shift towards more stringent regulations reflects a broader societal commitment to ensuring the safety and well-being of the public in communal spaces. The tragedy served as a critical impetus for change in fire safety regulations, illustrating the dire consequences of negligence and the paramount importance of stringent safety protocols. The reforms that followed, including mandatory sprinkler systems and stricter wiring regulations, have left a lasting impact on building safety standards. The fire not only reshaped policies, but also heightened public awareness and advocacy for safer building practices, setting a precedent for future safety measures in public venues. As we reflect on the devastation of that fateful night, we are reminded of the critical need for vigilance and adherence to safety standards to prevent such tragedies in the future. The legacy of the Beverly Hills Supper Club disaster is not just one of loss and horror, but also of learning and improvement, ensuring such a disaster never occurs again. The Beverly Hills Supper Club fire remains a somber milestone in the history of fire safety in the United States, serving as a harsh reminder of the potential consequences of overlooking safety for aesthetic or financial gains. The legacy of this event is embedded in the improved safety standards and regulations that continue to evolve, driven by the lessons learned from that tragic night. It underscores the ongoing need for vigilance and commitment to safety standards to prevent such disasters from recurring, ensuring the well-being of the public in any entertainment venue.